We're looking at creating a retail website and setting up email marketing, but we haven't a clue where to set about getting the email addresses. How easy is it to, or how accurate is it buying mailing lists, or are we wasting a lot of money doing that?
Jim, the thing I would ask you is, when was the last time you bought something from an email address from a website that you knew nothing about and they happened to email you? And it's kind of a loaded question. The answer is you probably haven't, or it's been extremely rarely. And here's where the kicker comes in. You know, email list rental simply doesn't work. I had a client, a major tour operator, who sent out 120,000 emails last Friday and had a click-through rate of 0.01%. Where we take Hastings Hotels, we do their email marketing, they get an average of about 30-35%. So the whole point of it is you must garnish the email address, and simply asking somebody for an email address is rarely enough, because my inbox is already loaded. You've got to incentivize me. You've got to tell me why I'm going to get it, why I should give it to you. And then when you do get it, there are tons of tools out there that allow you to put it into a database. It automatically dedupes. It runs the rolling campaign to start off the relationship with the customer. And you can then now start doing authentic email marketing. The challenge to you in your business is, how do you incentivize your customers at every touch point to give you their email address? You can't force them to do it, but if you've given them good enough reason, then they'll donate it. Then they'll give it to you. And that's when you'll find that your email marketing lists will then start to build as the flywheel starts to turn and people start to talk about it and you've given them good content.
It would be easy to become overloaded with information. Finding a strategy that works for your business through this is going to be quite a challenge when there are so many, for example, social networking sites, when there are so many strategies that you could adopt. What's the one most important thing for any of you that you think will help people to be focused and make this actually work for them in a cost-effective manner? I'll start at the far end of the panel, if you don't mind.
Great. On the spot. I mean, for me, it would definitely be going back to the point about understanding your target audience, because absolutely everything spins off that. And you know, I can get excited and talk till the cows come home about social media, but the fact is, if your target audience aren't on Twitter, then there's no point doing anything on Twitter, no matter how cool it is. So really invest the time up front to understand what your target audience are doing online and where they're doing it as well. So are there key forums or social networking groups where your customers are interacting with each other, people are talking about your product or about your industry, and start your campaign from there, because then with that knowledge of kind of like the landscape, if you like, of social media as it relates to your company, with that you can then plan an effective strategy.
Andrew, you've got a whole portfolio of tools in your toolbox, but much as you'd like to sell all of them to everybody, that's not going to be appropriate for everybody.
No, it definitely won't be. The absolute key would be, and I think we've heard an awful lot of that today, is to think outside of the box and just try and do something differently. Obviously, always consider your ROI on everything you do, but that outside of the box thinking is, I think, what is the difference between a blender company and the world's most famous and best performing blender company.
Nick, presumably you don't want after this event to be bombarded with people with unfocused ideas. What people need to do is what's going to actually make money for their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think social networking is very important, and using it in a business context is very important, but it won't be for everybody. And I think if you are going to use it, my advice would be to do two things. If you're going to use social networking, you need to be useful, you need to give the customer something that's useful, and you also need to be interesting as well, so you need to give them something that's interesting as well, and something that keeps them engaged, that keeps them coming back for more. So if you're able to adhere to those two things, I think you're in a good place to be able to use social media effectively for your business.
Susan, what you said, there presumably has to be something for almost everybody.
Yeah, I think there is something for everybody, and I hope you've noticed during the course of today that all of us have actually been talking about a lot of old-fashioned marketing stuff. Whether we're talking about your product, whether we're talking about your price, whether we're talking about your communications. My hint for you guys is there is nothing new under the sun. That essentially this is all great marketing and it's good business planning. And I do think that when we're developing strategies with business, we're often revisiting the basics. And what we're then doing is applying the technology layer on top. So my advice to you is make sure you know your business, what you're doing, what your benefits are, what your USP is, before you then start hitting the internet bandwagon. Yeah.
Now, the most important thing, be strategic.
Be strategic.
I think actually before that is know your customer. That's the number one. And after that, it's down to strategy, and thankfully there are lots of people who can help you with investing, either commercial companies like our own and several others around town who understand all of this sphere and will help you pinpoint the areas that will get best value, best bang for your buck.
George, do you have any thoughts on this before I ask you a more specific question?
Yeah, you know what? Have some fun. It's okay to lighten up a little bit. Sometimes we get so serious with the business stuff. People like to do business with people that they like, that are enjoyable and fun to interact with. Also, when you're talking about social media, you're talking about getting specific. You need to be prepared to engage with people at a higher level than you've done before. The days of sending out a mass message and just leaving it out to whoever are gone. You need to add your value. You need to communicate what you can do to help solve your customers' problems and engage with them. It's very simple. Now there's just a new tool to use it. You can communicate and have an intimate relationship with someone clear across the globe.
I mean, it's a fascinating campaign, and it's fascinating in terms of what it's done for your business. Where do you go from here? How do you keep it fresh? What's the next thing that you're going to do to keep that momentum? How long can you continue to mine this very profitable seed?
The wonderful thing about the internet for us is it's timeless. It used to be that you put out something on a channel and it was dated. Okay? For someone who is discovering this campaign today for the very first time, it's new and relevant for them, just as though it was happening and evolving and unfolding right in front of them real time. It's timeless. And so make sure that when you put things out there, you keep it so that it is timeless. Now, to some extent, there are people who have become fans and are anxious and wanting to continue to do that. And to some extent, we'll continue to feed additional things out there to just kind of feed the hog. You know, we just keep things going, make it fun and engaging. In reality, as far as Blend Tech is concerned, that person has been branded. They've now know who we are. They know now the performance that we have. And so to some extent, that element of the campaign is done. Now we need to take the next step and move into maybe more of a new type of a program to help drive closing, to drive other types of things, and participate in other selling types of activities. Another thing, by the way, which is very interesting, is we're just launching right now 5 new products. And so you think about the leverage now that we have, that we did not have just a couple of years ago, to be a voice to the world to talk about our new products. And so it will evolve, it will go with the business, and we'll continue to drive and build our new products, dovetail those types of things in, and leverage the value that we have.
Is there a rule of thumb guide to the cost of AdWords? I've heard today 8 cents and 10 pence mentioned. Our experience is that it's substantially more than that.
Yeah. With regards to the price of AdWords, the only rule of thumb I would give you is it's getting more expensive. The prices are going up, more and more competition. So for instance, I do work in the legal sector, and that we can pay up to £33 per click to get a personal injury client. And they're happy to pay that because does that make sense? So the examples we've shown you today were a single sector. I think if you were to take your budget from this time last year, you would easily double that figure this year. And I would suggest to you the price per click is going to continue to go up as more and more small businesses are coming on board. So there is no single price that we could give for any particular sector.